welcoming us to their territory, and thank you to everyone here for coming today. I've been working with Gurpreet for a number of years, helping to edit his articles, printing some of them in People's Voice, and it's been an honor to help in this process of rediscovering important elements of the history of this country. As a journalist, as a former history student at university, I'm acutely aware of the saying that history is written by the winners. And that's certainly the history of Canada. We have a very flattened version of what has happened in this country over the last several hundred years and before that, where certain things are erased from the picture or distorted, or even reported in the exact opposite way they happened. Certain things are celebrated and other things are denigrated, and it reflects a very racist colonial version of what this country is, how everybody came to be here, what our part is in this country. And I think the story of Mewa Singh and the Gadar Party in Canada is a very important example of how this comes to be. Why is it that certain episodes in the history of this country are seen as glorious occasions, when people take up arms for one reason or another to fight oppression or to achieve certain goals for certain elements of ruling classes? Why is it that General Wolfe is a great Canadian hero, for example, but Louis Riel from my Métis people is still widely seen as a traitor? It is a shameful example of the way that Canadian history is presented in our society. Why is it that we hear on television almost every day the story of Laura Secord, but we never hear of the Gadar Party activists who in a different way played a major contribution to the building of this country? I think it's very revealing about how we define ourselves. There are certain things that are seen as quintessentially Canadian and other things that are simply written out of history because they are the actions of so-called troublemakers, people that we would rather forget because they made problems for the ruling class. They made us uncomfortable. We'd rather just ignore them, pretend it didn't happen. And sometimes that even affects our own families. My father's family, on one side were Cree Métis people, but there came a point when they could accept the white skin privilege because most of them looked pretty white, and there was a sort of a collective decision they would simply not talk about that. And for 70 years or so, it was not spoken of in our family. That Métis heritage was absolutely denied. My father is in his 80s now. He has never agreed to speak a single word of his family's real history to any of his children. Other people in the family have taken a different route and gotten their Métis Society memberships and are celebrating our history now. But I think it really shows something about, as I said, how Canadian society defines itself. So the work that is being done now to bring to light some of the forgotten or whitewashed parts of Canadian history, I think is extremely crucial for us to understand who we are. And the history of racism in British Columbia is one of those episodes that we really need to explore, to search through the archives, to bring to light these facts. Because it's possible to cover over history for a certain period of time, but it's never possible to completely eliminate it. And with careful research and diligence and studies such as Gurpreet Singh has done and others, these things are being understood better. The full history of what's happened in this country is beginning to come to light, such as the fact that part of the history of this country is the fact that radical-minded people from India, people who wanted a better life for themselves, came here, and they did not give up their resistance. to British colonialism, to imperialism. Some of them maybe thought they could escape it, but as soon as they got here, they found out differently, and they began to organize in various ways to overcome that oppression, to find a better life for themselves, and they quickly ran into some real stubborn resistance from the ruling class, and we saw what happened in the case of the early years of the Ghadar Party here, where every weapon was used to try and crush this insurgent movement, to wipe it out, to prevent it from spreading, for the reasons that Charlie Smith has talked about. But they couldn't. You know, some of those activists went on to play very important roles back in India, some of them even here in Canada and North America. They inspired others to carry on. Some of the people who organized the Woodworkers Union, for example, in this country, or fought the struggle for the right to vote for all in Canada, they were inspired by the history of what happened here in this particular piece of land 100 years ago. So that history, it might have been covered up and obscured, but it did not go away. It continued to live in the hearts and minds of the people. And now it's beginning to be told in a more organized and public way. So we are very proud to be part of this process. On behalf of People's Voice and the editorial board, I want to thank Gurpreet for the work he has done and congratulate him for this important book and for all the work that he has done. And we hope to continue collaborating with you in this very crucial effort in the years to come. Thank you.